Here's the headline at Business Today on September 12, 2024. Risk to human society. Earth has exceeded critical planetary boundaries, says a study. Here's the lead, quote, global environmental systems under threat, end quote. The first paragraph provides an excellent overview of the article. Quote, a new study warns that human activity is endangering 8 critical life support systems on Earth, with 7 already having crossed dangerous thresholds. The findings were published in the Lancet Planetary Health and involve more than 60 researchers assessing the state of the planet, end quote. The excellent overview continues with the second paragraph. Quote, scientists examined various aspects essential for a livable Earth, such as climate, freshwater systems, biodiversity, and soil nutrients. Most of these systems have passed crucial planetary boundaries, indicating risks to both human society and the environment, end quote. As I have indicated many times in this space, these, quote, various aspects essential for a livable Earth, end quote, are interconnected. These, quote, various aspects essential for a livable Earth, such as climate, freshwater systems, biodiversity, and soil nutrients, end quote, are related to one another. Our collective ability to retain a livable Earth depends upon maintaining a cool, stable global climate, unpolluted freshwater systems, a high level of biodiversity, and abundant soil nutrients. Unfortunately, we no longer have a cool, stable global climate. We no longer have unpolluted freshwater systems. The days of abundant biodiversity are long behind us, as are the days of copious soil nutrients. The article at Business Today continues by pointing out that, quote, among the systems evaluated, only aerosols, small particle pollution, remain within safe limits, despite contributing to an estimated 8 million deaths annually. This marks it as the last boundary yet to be breached, according to the study. The study updates a project that began in 2009 to assess these boundaries, now referred to as Earth system boundaries. The research evaluates the risk of exceeding these thresholds on both the environment and society globally, end quote. This final sentence implies that the environment and society are somehow disconnected. As I have pointed out frequently in this space, nothing could be further from the truth. Consider, for example, the article's statement that aerosols, quote, remain within safe limits, despite contributing to an estimated 8 million deaths annually, end quote. Never mind the critical importance of aerosols for retaining a cool planet. According to a peer-reviewed paper I've been citing for more than 5 years in this space, loss of aerosols will cause planetary heating to increase very rapidly, especially on land. The article at Business Today focused on 2 metrics, quote, how long the system can function reliably, and justice, which considers the potential harm to current and future generations. Both factors suggest critical changes are needed to avoid further damage, end quote. In the spirit of too little, too late, the article quotes the peer-reviewed paper in recommending the protection of, quote, at least 50% of global ecosystems, limit groundwater extraction, and impose strict controls on nitrogen and phosphorus fertilizers. These steps are seen as necessary to stabilize Earth's systems, end quote. These very recommendations have been made by ecologists and environmental activists for at least 5 decades. They have been ignored by nearly all government officials this entire time. Not surprisingly, quote, economic activities are a key driver of the planet's destabilization. The authors propose radical societal changes, including wealth redistribution to slow down environmental degradation and maintain a living planet. Not surprisingly, the planetary boundaries approach has sparked debate among scientists, with some questioning the practicality of the recommendations. Critics argue that the concept of crossing a defined danger line may oversimplify the complex environmental challenges the world faces. The article at Business Today refers, albeit cryptically, to a peer-reviewed article in the Lancet Planetary Health. Written by more than 60 scholars and published on September 11, 2024, the article is titled, A Just World on a Safe Planet, a Lancet Planetary Health Earth Commission Report on Earth System Boundaries, Translations, and Transformations. The executive summary of the peer-reviewed open access paper begins with an obvious line, quote, the health of the planet and its people are at risk, end quote. It continues with another, quote, The deterioration of the global commons, i.e. the natural systems that support life on Earth, is exacerbating energy, food, and water insecurity, and increasing the risk of disease, disaster, displacement, and conflict." End quote. After stating the obvious, the executive summary of the peer-reviewed paper continues with information that echoes politics more than science. Quote, "In this commission, we quantify safe and just Earth system boundaries and assess minimum access to natural resources required for human dignity and to enable escape from poverty. Collectively, these describe a safe and just corridor that is essential to ensuring sustainable and resilient human and planetary health and thriving in the Anthropocene. We then discuss the need for translation of Earth system boundaries across scales to inform science-based targets for action by key actors, and the challenges in doing so, and conclude by identifying the system transformations necessary to bring about a safe and just future. Our concept of the safe and just corridor advances research on planetary boundaries and the justice and Earth system aspects of the Sustainable Development Goals. We define safe as ensuring the biophysical stability of the Earth system, and our justice principles include minimizing harm, meeting minimum access needs, and redistributing resources and responsibilities to ensure human health and well-being. The ceiling of the safe and just corridor is defined by the more stringent of the safe and just Earth system boundaries to minimize significant harm and ensure Earth system stability. The base of the corridor is defined by the impacts of minimum global access to food, water, energy, and infrastructure for the global population, in the domains of the variables for which we defined the Earth system boundaries. Living within the corridor is necessary because exceeding the Earth system boundaries and not meeting basic needs threatens human health and life on Earth. However, simply staying within the corridor does not guarantee justice, because within the corridor, resources can also be inequitably distributed, aggravating human health and causing environmental damage. Procedural and substantive justice are necessary to ensure that the space within the corridor is justly shared. We define 8 safe and just Earth system boundaries for 5 domains: the biosphere, functional integrity and natural ecosystem area, climate, nutrient cycles, phosphorus and nitrogen, fresh water, surface and groundwater, and aerosols, to reduce the risk of degrading biophysical life support system and avoid tipping points. 7 of the Earth system boundaries have already been transgressed: functional integrity, natural ecosystem area, climate, phosphorus, nitrogen, surface water, and groundwater. The 8th Earth system boundary, air pollution, has been transgressed at the local level in many parts of the world. Although safe boundaries would ensure Earth system stability and thus safeguard the overall biophysical conditions that have enabled humans to flourish, they do not necessarily safeguard everyone against harm or allow for minimum access to resources for all. We use the concept of Earth system justice, which seeks to ensure well-being and reduce harm within and across generations, nations, and communities, and between humans and other species, through procedural and distributive justice, to assess safe boundaries. Earth system justice recognizes unequal responsibility for and unequal exposure and vulnerability to Earth system changes, and also recognizes unequal capacities to respond and unequal access to resources. I would love to believe we can simply accept that we have surpassed 7 of 8 Earth system boundaries and all will be well in the world. However, surpassing 1 of 8 Earth system boundaries is one too many. Crossing 7 of 8 Earth system boundaries is a prescription for disaster. There is no turning back the clock to the early 1700s. There is no way to eliminate injustices that have already occurred. There is no returning to a simpler, cooler world. It's time to acknowledge where we are and what we can do. Reality is difficult to accept. Still, we must accept it.